What that means is that is a consciousness manipulation that they have put there. So from the guardian perspective, that means they have hijacked the planetary mind. It wasn't up to them to put in programs and start to manipulate consciousness into a direction that serves their agenda. So again, as we start to expand our awareness, we start to become aware of some startling truths. But again, this again is not to create any kind of fear, it's to create awareness. So again, the fourth triad of intelligence, when I'm talking about avatar and the 12 base field, because we're using that model, this is the avatar matrix triad. This is the 10th, 11th, and 12th dimensional layers of our chakra system. We generally don't have lots of information beyond the first 7 chakras, so I'm going to give you a little model for that so you can connect to that and see if that resonates. And so again, our avatar is understanding our unity consciousness. It's a part of our blueprint. So when we're talking about cosmic Christ intelligence, I know that that term has been misused. Sometimes I hesitate to use it because it's been twisted into fundamental religion and untruths and all kinds of things. That's not at all what this information is trying to describe Christ consciousness as. Christ consciousness is otherwise known as unity field. It's a non-polarized, non-dualized field. It understands oneness. It experiences oneness as a reality. So the avatar bodies, the 10th, 11th, and 12th layers, is an energetic reality as unity as a consciousness field. And so the first layer, the 10th dimensional chakra, is the Christ mind. They refer to it as the Christos mind. The layer 2 is a Buddhic mind, and layer 3 is the solar logos. And this is when you start to connect to what's known as the hydroplasmic liquid light blueprint or crystal body. This is why they think that the 12th dimensional ray and shield process is important, because when you understand that you have a crystal body, what you're connecting to is the divine intention of your original creation prior to the polarization, prior to the reptilian shenanigans and so forth. So the enlightened extraterrestrial contact begins at this level. This is why when you are endeavoring to connect to beings, when you are in contact with extraterrestrials, you want to challenge and be sure that these beings are in universal service to the law of one, meaning they are a part of that 12th dimensional and above body. They're not here with some hybridization, genetic abduction, mutilation agreement, because some of that is going on. Again, I was very thrilled to have Mihal talk about the fourth kind. When I saw this movie, I cried my eyeballs out and I said, this is why I stay on the earth. This is why I stay on the earth. I know that this is going on. I've seen it. And this is genetic mutilation, genetic manipulation, and abduction without that being's consent. And I know that's hard to believe because at certain levels, some of us do have consent and have given, as like myself, to be a hybrid, to work with prototyping, to be in contact with extraterrestrials. However, understanding that no being has the right to invade your personal space, period. Learning how to create dominion is key. So let's go to the multidimensional identity chart. This will also help us to see how each chakra connects to planetary consciousness and extraterrestrial consciousness, and understanding we are the extraterrestrial intelligence. It's a part of our body. So again, in understanding the cosmology, just like the chakras that we have, the universe and the planetary body has its own Stargate or chakra system. So understanding the first 3 layers, we can see the personality matrix and how these levels connect to not only those levels of intelligence, but to other timelines, planets, and realities. So as we look at this model, we can see that there's a parallel Earth, there's an inner Earth, there's a Venusian Earth relationship, and as we move into the soul matrix, which is another harmonic universe, we start to connect into the 4th dimension. Now this is what's interesting, is when you see the astral body and the race emotional body connected to Nibiru, you can really start to understand how the Anunnaki and the reptilian energies really got a stronghold that way through Egypt, because Egypt is the 4th dimensional Stargate. So that's why they went there, because that was the area of our solar shield. It was the area of where we as a being connect to our soul matrix. They went right there. So our astral body is a part of the collective emotional body of every human being on this planet. And it opens into our relationship with the sun and also what's known as Nibiru. So Nibiru is a planet that has a certain trajectory in terms of time within our particular cosmos. It has a cycle, and when it has a cycle, again, it impacts us at certain levels. And again, that's a part of again, Michal talked a lot about that, so I won't get into that. But understanding as well as we move up the scale, the fifth dimensional body, the gatekeeper is Pleiadian. When we start to connect to our fifth dimensional throat, sometimes you'll be really connected to Pleiadian consciousness. Or sometimes you'll know that your particular level of embodiment, because a lot of us have very specific genetic material, you'll be connected to a certain part of the planet, or you'll be really attracted to a certain type of ET consciousness. So there's some people that are very, let's say, more connected to Pleiadian than Arcturian, or feel more connected to Sirian rather than Pleiadian or Orion, this kind of thing. It really doesn't matter. A part of that genetic material is really the core of the things that you have chosen to express, and the nature of that planetary consciousness and that intelligence is a part of what you're here to contribute to this planet. So our sixth layer is actually our third eye, and that's connected to the Sirian intelligence. It's important to note that the Sirian constellation and intelligence acts and has acted as the higher self to the Earth. So the Sirian energy, many of us will feel a connection to Sirius at the sixth dimensional level, because guess where all our indigos came from? Our blue-ray beings that came from the sixth dimension are the indigo children that are being birthed on this planet. And again, more beings from the higher dimensions are actually embodying on our planet, because now this body can actually hold that consciousness. So understand that we've been path cutting the genetic material of this body so that we can hold higher and higher and higher resonances. It's really understanding, again, the frequency is like electrical. You could plug into 2,000 volts and it would burn out your system, or you would spontaneously combust. So we literally had to path cut and work on bringing little braids of consciousness in, and we reached a point in 1987 where we could actually have full six-stranded beings coming into this planet and being born en masse, and that's who our children are. Many of our children are these beings. And again, there's another whole level of avatars and beings that are attempting to get in here. So believe you me, we may think it's going on out there, but it's the parties down here. So as, again, we move into the monad, into the seventh dimensional parallel Earth timelines, you start hitting the Arcturians, which my little chart is a little off there, but that seventh dimensional chakra relationship is to the Arcturian consciousness. The Arcturians are helping us rebuild the logos of our planet and the violet dimension. That's a part of their role with humanity. Again, the galactic core, our eighth chakra, is where we connect to Orion. As well, from the Guardian model, the eighth chakra connects to the Milky Way galaxy. It's the core of creation of our universe. And then we start getting into the antiparticle timelines, where we get into the Andromedan energies at the ninth dimension, which, by the way, the Andromedans are hosting our ascension. I'm going to talk about that at the end of the presentation. And then continuing, our 10th, 11th, and 12th layer is the cradle of Lyra. Lyra was a planet that exploded in our particular history, is no longer there. However, those levels of the 10th, 11th, and 12th connect to the solar logos, or that galactic mind, those levels of intelligence. And again, seeing that 12th dimensional is the unity template, is the unity blueprint, the avatar matrix. And then once we get beyond dimensionalization, we come into the logos energy of our universe, which again is considered one spirit. In some esoteric circles, it's also considered the Melchizedek, but we know Melchizedek has been distorted a lot on this planet. So those three levels of the blue ray, gold ray, and violet ray are the primal sound creations. So we can see again that 13th ray is a blue aqua ray that's feline, primary is feline in nature. The gold ray is primary avian or bird in nature. The magenta violet is primary cetacean, dolphin, whale in nature. Those are the creators of humankind. No wonder we have an affinity towards them. Now this is a basis very quickly because the chakra system goes beyond our first 7. So again, just for a moment and kind of seeing the position of these chakras beyond the 7 are called morphogenetic chakras. It means they actually connect into the antiparticle fields. We have actually tremendously more chakras, but that would be really confusing. So we're staying with a 15-dimensional model, so you can see how each level connects to an intelligence, connects to DNA, connects to a chakra, connects to planetary consciousness, etc. So our 8th chakra is actually in between our 4th and our 5th. It's in our thymus center. And this is when we start to connect to monad. The permanent seed atom actually exists in this area. The 9th chakra is behind our head in our medulla oblongata. And these 2 chakras, when they start to come online, they actually cycle. So when we're having lots of head issues, whizzing around our head, pain in our neck, these energies are starting to come online because these 2 chakras actually do not go horizontally. If you see the little graphic here, the 8th and 9th chakra go right into the center of the pineal gland, like a crisscross. So those days you're going, what's happening to the center of my brain? This might be helpful. And going beyond the 9th chakra, we can see the 10th chakra is about 6 inches above the head. Now the 10th chakra, which is very interesting, which is where a lot of the mind control stuff comes out, which I'm going to talk to you about in a moment. The 10th chakra is where we get the broadcast from our higher self. So they've really worked hard to keep that off the planet. The 10th chakra is like understanding when we start to connect to that avatar intelligence, there's a broadcast that comes out. So that chakra actually has the part of the core template. Our body is like a sandwich. So the 10th level of our tree of life, which is the core blueprint, that 10th dimensional layer in our body is actually the left ear, behind the left ear. And it resonates to a chakra center that's about 6 inches above our head. So when we're having left ear or blockages in this area, a lot of the times our higher self transmission, because it's like a broadcast frequency, it's trying to come in. And there's been a lot, sometimes damage or energies, we don't know how to clear that. So understand that again, that chakra that's above your head is a part of where you receive the frequency broadcast of your God higher self, like the literal connection of healing that inner voice very clearly. Now the 11th chakra is about 16 inches above the head. The 14th chakra is about 3.5 feet above the head. And then we go beneath us. The Earth Star, again 6 inches beneath, is the 12th dimensional chakra. The connection to our Earth core is the 13th chakra, which is about 12 inches beneath our feet. And then our 15th chakra is way out in outer space. So this is the model in looking at counter-rotating Merkaba fields of our electromagnetic body, how these are supposed to be spinning, and a model of a 15-dimensional chakra system just to kind of see where those are. Now let's talk a moment about planetary dynamics, because really what we're connecting here is as above, so below, as within, as without. This body is a controller to the planet. It's a controller to the cosmos. When you start to see this, it's really fascinating, and also when you start to experience it, it's amazing. So the planetary, this is the organic inner Templar. This would be in the inner Templar, the inner Earth Stargate chart. And these stargates are like portals that open into other dimensions, other planets, etc. So we can see, going through each of the layers, like from the first, second, and third dimension, where those energies synthesize into the surface of the Earth. These are locational areas on the planet Earth where you access these particular frequencies, and then they're gridded out into a circulatory system. So what I find interesting is when you look at the 4th, 5th, and 6th layer, you can see why so many of us are going to Giza, going to Machu Picchu, going to India. Gee whiz, I think we want our soul back, don't we? If you look at the 4th, 5th, and 6th dimension, and where those frequencies come into the planet, the 4th dimension is Giza, the Giza Plateau, Egypt, and also the remote is in central Mexico. I'll explain what that is in a minute. The 5th dimensional Pleiadian energy is in the Machu Picchu vortex. The Syrian 6th dimensional energy is in the India area. So when we're working on that consciousness, guess where we might be guided to be? It's pretty cool when you start to see this, right? Nothing is random. So again, in understanding that fourth dimensional Giza, it's understanding that each Stargate is like a wormhole. It has a particle and an antiparticle opening, a black hole and a white hole. And a lot of the Egypt hieroglyphics are very cool that way, because when you look at these boats that look like arcs, it's actually a wormhole. One area is particle, the other area is antiparticle. So it's like you come in one hole and you leave out another. You're going into another timeline, another dimension. So on our planet, those wormholes, again, have correspondences. So the correspondence to Giza is in central Mexico, which really is no accident, because guess where there's more pyramids? Then we go to Pleiades and we see Machu Picchu. Now, Vatican City is very interesting. When I started to understand that the Roman Catholic Church purposely chose us, I was, it really is amazing when you see these patterns. Recently, they were having me clear up a timeline, and that timeline, they were showing me that the obelisk in the center of St. Peter's Square belonged to Caligula. Gee whiz, if I wanted to revere Christ, if I wanted to bring that which was holy and sacred, would I go get the object that Caligula massacred thousands of Christians on? I don't think so. There's something there that doesn't add up. And this is actually a fact. If you actually Google that, you will see the architect of Vatican City drug out Caligula's obelisk and put it in St. Peter's. That was fascinating to me. All of these clues are right in front of us. And you have to ask the question, does that sound like some reverence to God or Christ? Would we be actually putting that in the center of what's supposed to be our holiest of holies? So it's very interesting when you see these agendas. Now again, Vatican City right now is going through a lot of changes. When you understand that the Guardians have been working with fifth dimensional consciousness fields, what they were talking about with the BP and the Gulf oil spill and the timeline that's important to humanity right now, is they're saying that because 2009 was a year that that crew, those that are committed to the Guardian consciousness and working with the Guardian, the holographic architecture repair, we're working with fifth dimensional inserts and clearing these inserts. A part of these inserts were about the recycling of humanity. There were a lot of systems in the astral and in the fifth dimension that were promoting recycling of the consciousness. So that meant when you see the white light, when somebody has a near-death experience and they haven't been given the information or the consciousness to know where to project their conscious being, they just go through the path of least resistance to the light. And that light was actually a structure called a false umbilicus that was centered about 2 inches beneath our navel. Now, according to the Guardians, that was a false umbilicus that was put there that was promoting the recycling of the consciousness. So what was happening is beings were coming and having a 3D life. They would drop the body, they'd go to the astral plane because they didn't know they had any other choice. And then they're on the astral plane and the beings would go, well, gee, let's do a life review. How did you do? Well, I think you need to get back in there because you've got a lot of unfinished business, and then they come right back into the third dimensional consciousness. So again, this is a part of the impeding of the sovereignty and the impeding of the evolution of a species, at least from the Guardian perspective. Again, I know this is really on the fringe material when we start talking about this, so I really just ask you to go within your own heart and take what resonates and discard the rest, but the information is really quite interesting. So Vatican City represents us working with that fifth dimensional consciousness because it's the other side of the fifth dimensional wormhole. There's an energy, a consciousness field that has accumulated there from the persecution and the desecration and the crusading and killing of multiple human beings in the name of quote-unquote God. The Roman Catholic Church has perpetuated this and perpetrated this for a very long time. That particular